I think out on course, there's not a huge amount of difference. Like in terms of racing through stages and navigating the checkpoints and sleep strategy and nutrition strategy and teamwork, that side of thing, I really think there is little or no difference. The big difference with Eco Challenge or World's Toughest Race was that not only is it an adventure race or a sporting event, but as people know, it's also a production for TV, television and media. So that's the big difference really, is the amount of sort of media that are there, the cameras, the interviews, the different sort of things that are required to make it into, a quality show for viewers. Other than that, to me, there's not much difference. Perhaps the only other thing, now that I think about it a bit further, is that there's actually quite a different field of people. Like on the sort of the standard World Series, there's a whole lot of people that we're used to racing against, kind of same people, different countries, so to speak. Eco Challenge tends to draw a lot of people that are not necessarily doing the World Series and regular AR World Champs, but are drawn just to that race. And so there's a little difference there, that there's a few new faces at Eco Challenge that we don't, people and good athletes that we don't necessarily see at more the regular kind of races, I guess you could say. I don't think it changes a huge amount. I think it's definitely there. And if I was to be honest, I'd say a couple of times during the race in Fiji in 2019, it was a little bit annoying, but most of the time it's not a problem at all. In fact, it's actually quite exciting. And I think just because it's different, like I don't think I'd be as interested in adventure racing if every race was like that. But because they're quite rare to have an event that has so much hype and media and attention to it, it's a pretty exciting thing to be part of. And you out on day 3 or day 4 or day 5 in an adventure race, to have a helicopter circle and land and Bear Grylls get out and ask you a couple of questions, it's just dynamic and interesting and quite engaging. And most adventure racers who do expedition length racing will know that you can be a bit mind-numbingly bored sometimes, or just tired, and those sort of things can be quite energizing. So overall I thought that the World's Toughest Race in Fiji, was the media and the hype around it actually made it really quite exciting. It's very hard for me not to think first up about our canoe sinking on the last night, falling to pieces and then having a bit of a drama at sea. But that aside, I guess a number of different things. The Pacific Islands are very close to New Zealand. Like, we sort of feel like they're sort of part of our family. So for us racing in Fiji, or any of the Pacific Islands for that matter, we do feel like it's a little bit of a home race for us, and that these are our people. So it was really nice to be able to perform well there in Fiji, because we know that New Zealand has strong relations with the islands and with Fiji. So that was really special. Just seeing all the Fijians out there and then cheering us on. I mean, they cheer all the teams on, but I do think we have a special connection coming from New Zealand. And I guess for us, our team, we've been racing for a number of years, but Eco Challenge, was kind of something of the past, in modern day adventure racing. So for the race to sort of come back, and for my teammates to be able to experience it, because I was the only one who'd done an Eco Challenge before, that was really special for us to get out there and sort of, I guess it was almost a step back in time in some ways, to sort of go back to a race that used to be massive and then disappeared for a number of years and then came back. And then the course in Fiji I thought was excellent. I think Kevin Hodder is one of the best, if not the best course designer, in the world in terms of, multi-day expedition length races. And I just felt the course had everything. It ticked all the boxes. It was challenging, it was dynamic, it was interesting, but most of all, it was really enjoyable. And, we really, really appreciated that. The first one was pretty minor. We just capsized our Kamakal canoe. So that was more just embarrassing more than anything. That was just human error. On the last night at sea, that was essentially when the outrigger, it actually came apart. The boat actually just basically started to fall to pieces. From a safety point of view, I never felt that we were in any real great danger. From a racing point of view, it was less than ideal. Just we didn't really know how we were going to solve that problem. It was quite a tricky one, but thankfully, there was safety systems in place that enabled us to essentially get to the finish line, once we got another boat and things. But we lost a significant amount of time, and I guess if you look at it purely from a racing point of view, we could have easily have ended up not winning that race because of what happened to that boat. So we did have a comfortable lead. It wasn't like when it happened that it was like, oh my God, we're going to get past, this is terrible. It was like, well, we've actually got some time up our sleeve. We just need to solve this problem and keep moving. One of the great things about event racing is that you do have to be adaptable and be able to adjust to different things. And I think, we probably pride ourselves as a team on having a pretty high skill level and be able to, master outdoor adventure sports fairly quickly. So that is a real test. And so in Fiji, we did have to build billy rafts out of bamboo. I think some of those things can be a little bit random, and I would hope that they wouldn't end up being major or change the outcome of a race in a major way, because those things can be pretty random. Like you can get, I know from experience that working with bamboo, is you can get super light, dry bamboo, or you can get wet, heavy bamboo that'll hardly float. So those things can be a little bit random, and that luck can come into it. So one team could end up with some brilliant, super lightweight poles and make a very sleek and fast billy raft. And the next team coming in through no fault of their own, just end up with a pile of heavy, useless bits of bamboo. Yeah. And but normally those things don't have a significant bearing on the outcome of an event. So, and the things like the stand-up paddle boards and various things, that's the same equipment for all people. So I sort of welcome and relish the opportunity to do different things in races, like the Kamakal, like sailing canoes. That was very unique. And we didn't actually sail our one, but at least you're doing something different. And I think that's what I was sort of alluding to before about the course being really enjoyable, is that it had a lot of variety in what we were doing each day. Yeah, my training, I'd probably say that I would do 8 to 10 hours a week as just a general maintenance sort of thing. And then when I get close to a race, I would definitely do more training than that. So training for up to a major event like Eco Challenge I'd be sort of hitting more like 20 to 25 to even 30-hour weeks. But that would only be for sort of 4 to 6 weeks before a major event. So what I tend to do before a big race like Paraguay, the World Champs, is I'll sort of, obviously I know I'm going to the race a few months ahead of time, and I'll essentially just kind of declutter my schedule so that it allows me for time to train. So I might work really hard through a period, essentially super condense my workload so that I can essentially have less work to do during that sort of major sort of training load. But in terms of doing just regular maintenance stuff of around 8 to 10 hours a week, like I would challenge people that if they can't do that, then I would challenge them that they're probably not using their time wisely or not making the training as important in their life as they probably want it to be. There's 24 hours in a day. So to train, 1 to 2 hours and 90 minutes a day, really to me just comes down to time management. It's not necessarily that they're that busy they can't find the time to do that. It was about making some sacrifice and just planning your time wisely and prioritizing that, making it important. And I think that's the difference for me is that I place high value on getting out each day and being active and healthy and connecting with nature. Like I don't like training in a gym or doing indoor kind of stuff. For me, it's about getting out in the sunshine and getting out in the wind and getting out in the rain and having that connection with nature that's important, physical and mental health. And, so I would challenge people. I'd say, well, look really carefully at how you're spending your time. How much time are you on social media, kind of swiping and looking at stuff, and how much time are you in front of a television, or what are you doing in that 24 hours that you're unable to do that 1 to 2 hours a day of exercise, which essentially will add up to the 8 to 10 hours a week. Again, I'm certainly no expert on how the sport should grow or thrive. I think the only way, or the only place I can really speak from experience is the model that we're using here in New Zealand. What happened in New Zealand was it was like, well, this is a cool sport, and lots more people can do this at entry level. So we started to see a lot more 3-hour races, 6-hour races, events and programs and pathways for youth, pathways for women, and the sport started to grow kind of like a proper sport probably normally would, from the bottom. And then as that kind of grew, then we sort of saw the emergence of bigger events, and then GODZone, which is New Zealand's kind of big epic expedition race, that kind of came. And so we have this very strong pyramid now of a big fan base down the bottom of tens and tens of thousands of people, probably hundreds of thousands of people in New Zealand. And that goes from races that are literally going to take people, just a morning, right up to the GODZone, which can be up to like a 7-day race. So, I think my point is, a very long way of answering your question is, I think it is the entry-level stuff and getting people excited about doing adventure racing, people who want more adventure in their lives and want to be more active and healthy, but also have that connection with nature and community and team, brings all that kind of stuff together. And I honestly think if you can just get more people involved at a grassroots level, then that will just essentially start pushing the pyramid up. I guess in many ways, I've been racing for a long time. So over my career, I think I've been motivated by different things. At the moment, for me, the real appeal of adventure racing, the main thing is to be able to justify the training that is involved in preparation for a major event. So I love being able to get out and do lots of training and get really fit and strong. And without a big race that you're building up for, it's very, very difficult in life to justify the amount of training that requires. I would love to be able to do it, but I haven't figured out how you can yet. In my home with my wife and children, if I've got the world champs coming up, then it's kind of normal that I'll go and train 20, 30 hours a week. But if I was just to say, I'm going to go and train 20 to 30 hours a week just because that's what I enjoy, I just wouldn't have the same level of support. So I really value that, the fact that I can get out and do the training. And then I guess as part of that, they are amazing experiences, to be able to travel to a very interesting part of the world, catch up with a whole lot of other adventure racers from all different countries from around the world, and go out there and do an adventure that has been organized by someone else. They've taken care of all the logistics and all the cool places to go, and they've set a course that involves navigation and challenge and reward and all those things. But they are very rich and privileged experiences, and that's motivating as well, to be able to go, hey, this is cool. We're going to Paraguay for a couple of weeks and we're going to do this epic adventure. So, different things motivate me at different times. But certainly for me these days, the ability to be able to go and do the training I place a lot of value on that.